Yeah.
Good evening. This is the Rutland Town Planning Commission, and it's March 6th of 2025. Let's begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome, everyone. We begin tonight with a public hearing on a boundary line adjustment on McKinley Avenue. Is there anyone here that would like to speak or have any questions about the boundary line adjustment for the sake of the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and move into the regular agenda of this meeting. And the first item would be approval of the agenda.
So moved. I'll second.
Chairman? All those in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. The next item is public comment again. So we'll skip over that. And so down to new business and the boundary line adjustment with the Baird Levins properties. Mr. Levins, yes.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you, Board. We are here the second time, and we have joining us via Zoom are Carol Baird and Francis Levins. They're the owners of the two pieces of property that are seeking the boundary line adjustment. Mark Corsell is also joining us via Zoom, and he was going to be here as well, but he had a cold and he was coughing and sneezing, and we told him, that he didn't want to be here. We didn't handcuff him to come here, and so, but he's available if there are any questions. He created the survey with the boundary line adjustment that we are requesting, that's being requested by the property owners. And basically, what we have is, we believe this is a minor adjustment. It affects no other properties other than the properties owned by the two people who are requesting this change. Carol Baird, the Baird property has been in existence since the 70s. It's on, her house lot is on the hill just west of the fire station on McKinley Ave as you go from 7 to Grove Street. And the other lot is a lot that was identified in 2008, legally recorded plot of a survey by George Stannard, was approved by this board November 22, 2008. And that is a parcel that goes out behind the fire station, mostly in a northerly direction, and then is bounded on the north by East Creek. So the adjustment is on what I'll call, there's sort of I don't know, in Oklahoma, there's a part of Oklahoma that sticks out, a panhandle, if you will, but there's a panhandle on the Baird house lot that goes into that field that's behind the fire station. And that is part of parcel 1, lot 1, which is now owned by Francis Levins. And that's in that standard survey that was approved back in 2008. So what's really being sought is an adjustment so that that panhandle becomes a part of that parcel 1, lot 1, and it will conform with the contours of the hill that the house lot, the Baird house lot's on, and that field that extends, that is the Francis Levins lot. There are, as I said, no other properties that are affected by this. It's just an internal property line adjustment. It has no rights impact on any rights of way, other public facilities, and it creates no new building lots. So we would ask that I make a motion that the board approve the requested boundary line adjustment. And that the plat, the Mylar that was created by Mark Corcel be filed with the town records. Of course, if there are any questions, please feel free to ask me or Mark Corcel, who's available. Happy to respond to that.
Yeah, Howard.
Yeah, I have a question. Mark's survey plat that he made here, which you show as your exhibit D. That in the title block, it's labeled boundary line adjustment of portion of lands. But on the map, this handle here, I couldn't find any place of where that was. So I made up a map. Does Jim have a copy of this here? Okay.
Okay.
Yes, he does.
Nowhere on the map could I see where the boundary line adjustment was. Yet the title block says boundary line adjustment. And so I thought, well, where is it? And so I'm not exactly sure what it was, but I worked my way around the parcel, and that crosshatched area that I've got on here, to me, I think is probably approximately where it is.
I agree with you 100%. Yep.
And so my question is that it seems to me that we should indicate on this plat what the boundary line adjustment was, so we can see where it was. Somebody trying to do a title search 40 years from now isn't going, I had a hell of a time going around this thing.
Hmm.
I was confused. I mean, to me, I think the survey plat needs to show what lines got moved, or where is the boundary line adjustments.
Yeah,
I'm
and that line in my letter, February 6th, so I referred to that standard survey, which it looks like, Howard, that's what you have drawn out there. I'll call it that panhandle. And so it's, yeah, extended out beyond what now is Chuck Whitehead's property. So basically it's a straight line up there. But I mean, anybody who does a title search is going to be able to, refer back to this slide number 106, which is the 2008 standard survey, which will see where that line was. And we do have, the description, the meets and bounds description of what is the adjusted line. And you can look at prior deeds that give you what the old boundary was. So I don't know if you want or need both of those, because that information is on the earlier surveys.
But it's tough to find. It's tough to follow through. And since this is a brand new plat, to me, just a couple of lines, added to this plat.
Yeah.
Would show that. I mean, I was confused. I had an idea about where it was, but again, since we're making recording a new plat, we want to make it as clean and clear as possible. So somebody further down the road shouldn't have any hiccup with it at all.
Yeah.
We're just, I'm not exactly sure if I've got it exactly where it is, but it should be just a couple of lines to show.
Yeah. And
where it was.
I agree with you. Like, I spent a few hours with colored pens drawing on the previous surveys where those lines were. And I don't know, Mark Corcel can, talk now. I mean, I have no objection to those lines going in there. Why not? I mean, it saves somebody 2 hours. I'm all for it.
But the lines that you talk about, your color lines, your yellow lines and whatnot, they're different on different maps. They didn't just follow the same, and there's all the more reason why I felt we needed. If Mark could put something on this
Right.
map, and he would know what it should be, but something to show where it is, because the title block says boundary line adjustment.
Right.
And so where's the boundary line adjustment? Let's see where it is, I guess. That's my
Mhm.
feeling. I feel.
Mhm.
that's-
Oh, Howard,
Howard, it's Mark.
Hi, Mark.
I can put like hash mark lines in that. It's basically a triangle that has changed. We've
Yep.
Hmm.
we've added that triangle to lot one of parcel one. So I can throw some hash lines on there to identify that, and that should clear it up for you. Does that
Good.
work?
It would for me. Does it make sense to you, Mark, to show this?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yep.
So yeah, as long as we differentiate, it's not just another set of hash marks. There's something else, Mr. Purcell, that you could put in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, so I will
Oh,
label the hashed area as the boundary line adjustment area. So that'll be spelled right out.
Have you seen this mark, this hatch mark that I hatched up?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay. You don't need to mark. You know what's what there, but I didn't know if when you mentioned hatch marks, I put hatch marks on this copy. I thought maybe you had seen a copy of it or something,
No.
but no, I think if you could
Yeah, do that
do
for
that
the final
to clear
plat,
it up.
for the final plat.
Yep.
Norm?
Well, frankly, I- this whole thing puzzles me. The new extension, the little rectangle, is that a part of somebody else's land that's being taken?
That's the access from McKinley Avenue is what that is. That
Yeah, that's
Goes
a
in.
50-foot wide piece, part of this parcel, which is parcel one, lot one. So that's not affected at all.
Well, what piece is affected then? I thought it was, from your discussion, I thought it was this piece here.
No,
that's what's hatched right here.
Okay, it's the hash marks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is what? That is now part of,
so here's a good one.
Final
Here's the
summation.
old survey that shows the Baird house lot in blue. So that's this piece. Right? And here's that 50-foot piece in green here. That's that part.
okay.
So you got Whitehead's property here,
That's the most.
and that's this square.
Mhm.
So what's happened is the boundary line is there. See what I mean? So what Howard's hashed out is this piece.
Could I just ask,
And what is
what is the
this?
significance of the red, the yellow, and the green? And that's confusing to me. From what I'm gathering, you're saying is that this line here is the old line.
That's correct.
And then
And then this
where is
red
the new
line-
one?
The red line is the new one.
So what's the significance of this one?
The
The
yellow.
green? And then the yellow?
I guess I got overly,
The
I
green
put
is,
too many colors in
I
there.
think the green is lot one, parcel one.
Yeah.
I think the
But now
yellow,
now the red is going to be the boundary line between Whitehead and lot one, parcel one, and the
Yes.
boundary between so-called house lot.
Yes. Yep.
I
And
think
it's
Okay.
I think the yellow was to illustrate what I put out there and what I hash in, but the yellow's in the wrong place. That's,
Oh,
if you put the yellow all around the end of the hatch, I think that to show
all right.
where the boundary lines were.
Put the yellow over the green, right? And over to the red.
You mean surround what's hash marked now?
Yeah.
With
the
yellow.
surround what
okay.
I had.
Oh, okay.
If the yellow went around there, that's, to me, that's.
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, the yellow should have looked more like this,
Yes.
right?
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Stay here. This is puzzling. The new area is the hash marks, correct?
No,
That's the old area.
That's the old area.
Yep.
Okay, and it is now being added to what?
So this
The
green
green.
piece, which is parcel one, lot one, the
Okay.
green.
And where does it come from?
Well, this hatch part used to be a part of the house lot.
Mhm.
handle.
So this is, so here that it
It's-
looks smaller on this survey, but depending on what survey you look at,
But this used,
that used to be-
you're restoring it, basically?
no, this used to be part of the house lot,
Right,
right?
and now it's
And
gonna
now
be
it's part of that green lot.
Okay, so it used to, and the house lot belongs to who?
Carol Baird.
Harold Baird,
Yep.
Mountain line.
and she owns the rest of the land that
That's
here.
what she sold, yeah.
Hmm?
That's what's being transferred, that whole parcel.
Or
Yeah,
the
she
whole-
she did own it, but now she's transferred that to a new owner.
And you carved out this small triangle for land contour reasons,
Or what? I'm sorry.
for the contour, because of the contour. of the
Right,
land,
because
yes.
it's, right, the field is flat, right? No, the yellow line in that other one was
Still lost.
was misleading. Mr. McCain. It should have been,
Here was part of this.
it should have been more like that. That's the
Yeah,
yellow.
that's totally makes sense now. I
Yeah.
mean, the green doesn't really, this doesn't matter
I can't.
At all,
exactly.
right?
Both of them.
So this line here
That's-
exists.
Just-
Yes,
As
that's
now.
always existed.
Yes,
Yep,
They're ringing
It's
in
just-
my ears.
yeah, it's simple. Okay.
yeah. It used to be part of the house lot, but
Mhm.
now it's part of
No,
the parcel
yep,
one lot one.
yep, that's fine.
Okay,
What's happening, Norm, is these boundary lines here are being moved over to here.
Mhm.
They're moved over here. This whole boundary, this boundary and this boundary are moved over, so. it's
Yellow
over
was
here.
bad in my first.
So all of this becomes part of this.
Yes, yeah.
She owns both pieces?
Yellow, really.
Carol Baird owns both pieces?
Oh, yeah, she owned the whole thing. Oh, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I can't
Okay.
print
That's
stuff at
nothing
home
to
like
clear
this.
that
either.
up.
Used to own that.
Is it
Used to.
copy?
That belongs to Jim, this here.
Yes.
Not going to buy another printer that can do that.
The yellow was bad in my first letter. It should have been more like that. Yeah.
Yep. So it's just the yellow piece that's being moved.
Yellow used to be part of the blue house lot.
Yeah. Title, Norm, says boundary line adjustment. And they're just moving these lines.
So that's,
No, I don't understand the purpose, but I guess it's none of my business.
my first
Thank you,
correspondence. It should have.
Boundary line was so we wouldn't have to do a
Thank you,
subdivision.
Oklahoma.
Shortcut.
We'll just move it.
So, any other questions for Mr. Levins? Bill, is there any other paperwork we need to,
Everything's on the desk there for you.
it looks like everything's filled out. Just,
Fine.
yeah, that's, but as far as the group is concerned.
Yep.
So I'll entertain a motion, and maybe it could contain language that the final plat will delineate with hash marks the actual boundary line adjustment.
Want me to try?
Not the
No.
no, that's okay.
I would.
Not to
second-
dictate what the motion says.
I would second that if you.
Yes, well, let's make it easy.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Okay.
But you're not gonna record anything until you get the proper plat.
Right, that should be part of,
I
Motion,
agree with that.
right. We're gonna create a new plat or Mylar that shows that hatched out area like Howard mentioned and Mark agreed.
okay. Okay, all those in
Are
favor?
you going?
Say aye.
Aye.
Sorry, we're right in the middle of the vote. Mark?
Yeah. Do you want me to just make those adjustments and bring it to the town clerk, or you want me to present it to you again?
We have to see it.
It goes to Bill Sweet. It doesn't have to come back to us.
Okay,
But we'll hold off signing all of this and filing all of this until we have it, which is what we do anyway, but we're just asking for one extra step from you folks on that Mylar. We always get a final Mylar.
not a problem.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Always a hash mark's gonna differ.
Not about my yellow.
Hash marks.
Well, I hatched that, I hatched mark just so you could see where it was. All I wanted to show was this here. That's all I was trying to point out. I hatched it just to show.
Is this your?
Thank you,
hash?
everyone.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Different ones.
Everyone that joined on Zoom.
Yep. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Glad we got this done.
To see if he needs it.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, Bill, the rules of procedure, we've been a little, delayed.
Yep.
In meeting at least one provision, I guess, which is the officers.
Yep.
The election, anything else?
No, there were some things you guys talked about changing, but unless you want to say like, hey, you can do the officers tonight, which you would do anyway. But if you want to change anything,
No,
I don't know if anybody's read it in anticipation of doing that, so.
Right, I don't think so either. Okay, per the rules of procedure, we're supposed to elect officers shortly after the first, I think the first meeting after the first of a calendar year. We missed that. But we can still make the motion. So carry this out.
I move that, Barbara Pulling be elected as chair of the planning commission. You need a separate motion for Dana? And
I'll second.
can we put them both two in the same?
Okay, put them both together.
Okay, I move that, Barbara Pulling be elected as chair of the Rutland Town Planning Commission and Dana Peterson as co-chair, or, I'm sorry, as vice chair.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? One here. Okay. Now, is Dana gonna come back?
I went,
thought he
he
came in.
must be outside. I didn't go
Took a phone
outside.
call and went outside.
The phone call,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, it wouldn't hurt our lengthy agenda if we just had a short update, Norm, if you're prepared.
Well, I'm not. I can tell you work continues. It is quite tedious. We have at least one more meeting to go through, and maybe more than that. I thought Dana had an outline that he was going to discuss. Oh, I didn't really take extensive notes.
Maybe Bill has something to add?
We went over some more of Kevin's suggestions and we had some questions for Kevin. He's answered one of them by sending us to a different town's policy. And we hasn't answered the other one. It's given us opinion on the other one yet. So it's just
Tedious.
It's big. I mean, there's no, besides Kevin's comments, there's nothing to go on. So what we have isn't what we have to change. He gave us some guidance, but he didn't give us any cut and paste language. And we could ask him for that, but I'm not sure it's worth the cost for him to go through it, or if we just try and do it. So our plan is the next time we meet in a week or so, the next thing we're going to work on is the procedure, is like from application to approval. We're going to work on that flow, and make sure it's correct. So,
Yeah. Is there any value of sending any of this to VLCT? For their,
there is a cost.
Their
I mean,
legal- yeah.
There's a cost to do it. We can, but I don't think the documents in a condition to be reviewed yet. So we're in the midst of so many different changes that we've got to come up with a clean draft. And then probably bring it back to you all to look at it and make sure there's no question, because once we send it to them, we're obligating ourselves to that expense. So I think, we're probably gonna need a couple more meetings to get a lot of this squared away, and then we'll bring it back here and say, okay, is everybody good? Is there any clarification? And then we'll send it along. So
Yeah.
to either
Yeah.
Kevin or Lee, I'm fine with either. I really am fine with either.
Is there any value to continue putting this on our agenda, Norm? Or just wait to?
I think
Just wait.
at the rate we can meet, it's probably gonna be May or June before we have a substantive update for you, so.
Yeah.
Don't call us, we'll call you.
Okay.
I see the problem with it is how to make it clear to you folks what the changes are from
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
So that you get a copy with the new language, but indicating what we're replacing, because it isn't top to bottom.
I'm not sure a change log is gonna be feasible,
Yeah.
really, I
and
mean,
then
it really, I don't think
I
it's
was
gonna be.
I was getting to
I
that.
think, my thought is that we're going to come up with a new suggestion, bring it to you all and say, read it, do you have any major concerns? And then send it along and let them tell us what needs to be modified from there. I mean, it's probably gonna be a year before we're done with this.
Mm.
But between creating the language, formulating the plan, getting it reviewed here, and then sending it along to the league, and however long they're gonna take to review it, and then getting it back to this group. I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
Why are we
the
gonna
speed
send it to
is
the league and not
glacial.
back to Kevin?
My thought with that would be
It's less expensive.
expediency.
Yes, that's my thought.
What is what?
We'd get it back
Expediency.
sooner.
It was 9 months since when Kevin had it.
Well, but I just have some concerns, not opposition, but Kevin put so much time into this. And if it goes to the league without the benefit.
I think let's cross that bridge when we come to it. We're a ways from there, so
Okay,
we'll hash that out.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Hope dinner's okay.
Yeah. So let's move down to the river corridor ordinance. Here's a couple copies.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You got some copies? Yes. Okay, good.
So I'm not sure anyone had much time to go over this. Since the agenda and everything was sent out. So I'll just walk you through where the changes are, and next time we can discuss those. And they're in the yellow highlighting. Norm, can you see them?
Barbara, so these are the changes, this not.
This is,
not
yes,
not
this is
to
a
be changed.
slightly revised state model ordinance. So in the table, there's a couple yellow highlights. Most people leave those blank, doesn't apply, non-applicable. But we can keep those in, I think.
Well, but before you get too deep into this, just let me ask one question. The highlighted changes, the yellow changes, are all changes that you have inserted into.
Yeah, I inserted after we had a conversation several meetings ago. So it's just a quick, brush look at this. So we went through the whole ordinance and said, oh, that doesn't look right. That doesn't look right. So in page 3, I put in a definition for functionally dependent uses, because that's not in the glossary. definitions. So that's 1D.
Yeah.
1F does not involve or authorize. Can't quite remember why that change was made. I'll have to look at the original one again. Starting on page 4, there's a number of instances where instead of the Development Review Board, it changes to the Board of Adjustment, which is another body that the select board can select, name to review these cases as they come. I didn't do anything with, on page 5, the development standards, with those graphs. I think we'll get used to them over time. And
Yeah.
be able to explain them. On page 6, there was a question from the group. Do we add the Moonbrook Stormwater Ordinance? That's part of our MS4. And that is not the same thing as a river corridor. In fact, I don't think there's much of a river corridor in the Moonbrook watershed. Maybe the small stream, but
Where are we again, Barbara?
on page 7,
Page 7.
okay, another Board of Adjustment addition there instead of Development Review Board.
So we're changing everywhere developmental review board appears, it's.
Yeah, it should be gone, yeah,
Yeah, I had a question
in
about
this
that.
copy. 2C. There was a question from this group, why is this needed? Interior improvements, repairs to existing buildings, these would be exempt, that cost less than $500. It's a threshold that I believe FEMA has put in here.
Yeah, the question I think was just the dollar amount.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I have. Why 500?
And we can check with DEC about that. Page 8, another Board of Adjustment. Page 9, Board of Adjustment. Page 9, Section E, development standards within the flood hazard area. There's a definition of the no net loss of flood storage capacity that was brought up here. And hopefully that answers that question.
I have the explain there and I don't understand. So can you say that again?
So, what's in the ordinance originally was no net loss of flood storage capacity.
Right.
Is one of the conditions for the development standards. And there was a question about what does that mean? So there's one definition, the amount of water that can be stored to reduce the impact of flooding, such as through floodplains and wetlands. So instead of the water, all of it going down, you have some flood storage capacity through the functions of floodplains and wetlands.
Okay.
Down in number 4 under section E.
Hang on, before you get to 4, I had a question about DFE.
About which one?
It's three, just above that. Fuel storage tanks must be elevated above the DFE.
Oh, the
What elevation?
the elevation, yeah, that's usually needs an engineer to,
I think that should be spelled out. That appears
It's-
earlier.
It's
in
in
the
the,
def-
it's in the definitions.
It's in the
design
def-
flood elevation.
Design
That's
flood
fine.
elevation.
I get it, but I still think that acronyms should be spelled out. They could be referenced into the definition section, but I don't think that
Mhm.
it should just have an acronym
Gotcha.
or letters. That was my.
Mhm. Yep.
Spell it out.
It's in a couple places on that page.
Yeah, I know. Well, I have the same question each time I saw it, so. I know that was one of my. Sherman, you also had the same question that I had. DFE stood for.
So in number 4, that's pretty much FEMA language, and those are specific zones that are mapped by FEMA. So this is where the floodway limits have not been determined. This needs to be done in this paragraph.
Where what hasn't been determined?
The floodway limits in those zones. Most of them are by FEMA mapping, but not all of them. Sometimes they're not. So, it's going to be some of these property owners that want to develop, that they're going to have to hire an engineer and answer some of these questions. It's gonna,
Was it the town of Royalton or somebody else that rejected their policy on flood hazard and river corridors? I just heard on VPR that went to the town. It was on the eastern part of the state.
Mm.
They rejected whatever they were proposing along these lines. So
a town meeting or?
Yeah. Yep. I can't remember. I think it was Royalton, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, so I mean, again,
We have
most.
to do our education. That was my only point in mentioning that, is that we have to.
Yeah, and indications are that these are going to become mandatory by the state.
Yep.
And that some of the economic advantages to doing it now may go away when they make it mandatory. Because right now they're there as a
As an
carrot.
incentive, right.
Yeah. Incentive. There was a question on page 10 about what FEMA's zone AO is.
Yep.
It's FEMA zone AO. It's on the maps.
What is it? What does it mean?
Yeah, it probably isn't. It's a certain distance.
So isn't it just used to identify a section on the map?
Yes,
Yeah, I'd just like to know what it referenced. Zone AO. That zone, or is it in FEMA?
yeah, it's not in the
Is the question,
definitions.
why is it?
Definitions.
I don't understand. I mean, it just seems clear to me. That's why I don't understand.
Yeah,
It's just, it could be called zone 30, just so you know
And I'd
that's,
be asking the same question. What does that mean?
it just means that's this on the map. That's this section
And
of the
each
map.
zone usually has different characteristics
But
associated.
that is not part of,
When you go to the online to the FEMA flood maps, they're labeled. This is a general description. It's not, doesn't just refer to like this section of this part of property, whatever, it refers to their mapping tool. So if you put your property in and you have a zone AO, then it applies. The only way to know is to look at their maps.
Okay.
I don't think it would clarify much to describe what the zone, what type of zone it is. They're all in the floodplain. And there's slight differences between the two, and you just, yeah,
I was just asking the question because if somebody asks that, I don't know how to answer. Other than it's what's labeled on the FEMA map, but
well, we could have a list of all of the zones.
I mean, I'm not saying that we need that for the bylaw, but I am suggesting that if we're focusing on education, that it should be a comprehensive
I understand what you're saying.
education. And, you know, FEMA zones are listed as this, that, the other thing. And OA is the other thing, whatever.
Dana, but if we refer to those zones here without definition, I think we're doing a disservice. And I think if there is a list of what these zones are and it's not too comprehensive,
It's going to be very comprehensive.
It'll be a
Very
page
detailed.
or something.
Yeah, it refers back to FEMA's map. That's all, that's what it does. So I would say this is based upon those determinations. So this would assume you've already looked at that, or if you haven't, you have to look at it anyway, so.
then some reference ought to be prominent to those definitions. Some reference in here should be prominently stated
Okay,
so that they can be found easily by the landowner, attorney, engineer, et cetera.
even, okay, just even a link.
You just simple
Maybe-
thing.
Maybe both, you know, just some statement with a link, that kind of thing.
So it says in our like lands to where it applies, it shows an example map and it shows like FEMA map, like the zones and whatnot. It says that we use the most current ones published by FEMA. And the only place those are online. There's no way to update, there's no way to put the maps in the document, so.
Yeah, I wasn't asking to do that. I was just asking for a point of education about what zone A refers to. Is it a higher priority zone? Is it a lower priority zone? Is it a general priority zone?
You know, it's basically, it's a zone that's, it's been mapped. I mean, I don't want to,
I think on this page
Make
right
this-
here, it kind of explains that.
What page is that? Randy?
20.
it's in the floodway and they do have several different
Full
categories.
paragraph.
Corridor, special flood hazard. Special flood hazard. Oh, AE. Yep, I see it. So what I would do then is it would satisfy my curiosity is to put see page 20 for description. And then that's all I need, or somebody who thinks like me, if there's anybody out there that would do that. It's an area of special flood hazard. A-E-O-A-O-H, or A-130.
They use all different designations. In
Right.
Florida, they have all
Right.
different, use different letter destinations for different.
My point is that those are special flood hazard zones.
Hmm.
That's it. And
Mhm.
that's a simple enough explanation. See page 20. Thank you, Randy, for that.
Okay. Page 11, we've got defined flood elevation again.
Barbara,
Yeah.
my suggestion is that the first time DFE appears is this. Let me just highlight it that way.
Mm-hmm. And so there was also on page 11, a question about in G1. I think. So we're talking about, storage facilities, basically. Should be designed to automatically equalize hydrostatic flood forces on exterior walls by allowing for the entry and exit of floodwaters. So I think it's defined there.
Yeah, my question was, what does it mean?
So it's it's an exterior wall designed to allow for entry and exit of floodwaters.
Okay, I still have my question. What does that mean?
But saying that if you have a parking space, if it's used for any of those purposes. And it's below the defined flood elevation where the flood's going to come to, it has to allow for water flow. You have to allow water to enter and exit.
Then that in parentheses would be a great example of what it means. I mean, I'm just asking these questions because, you could take somebody and have you walk you through it. But if you don't have an initiation to that, I mean, I could posit that that's what it means, but I don't know how to interpret that in terms of practical application. This is a document that is highly technical.
Yep.
And most people would have a difficult time.
Yep.
Understanding what it
They
means.
need to hire an engineer.
Yeah,
They're in the flood zone.
I understand that. As an educator, my goal is always to make documents accessible in a non-jargon way
Yeah.
to the average person. They would still have to hire an engineer to design it.
Right.
But the point is that they could understand it without having to pay an engineer and take the time to interpret all of it for them. I'm just saying, if we're in the
We are going to be
business.
quite limited in how we change the language.
I'm not,
since this
I'm not
goes-
suggesting that, Barbara. What I'm suggesting is Andy had a great idea. See page 20. That takes
That
it.
was your idea. I found it on page 12.
Okay, you found it on page 20. Well, I'm giving you credit for helping inspire my idea, I guess. And the same thing with Bill. If your storage area is below grade, you have to design it for water to flow in and out of that because it's going to be flooded. That's all it is. It's the simple language
yeah.
that allows somebody.
That is what it
It
is.
almost just says that here, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you read all of G and 1.
You're
They're-
preaching to somebody who can do this. I'm not advocating for myself. I'm advocating for people who aren't going to be able to take this highly academic language and translate it into a practical understanding. That's all I'm really doing. And if I can't answer the question myself in 3 seconds or less to somebody that I'm talking to, in my opinion, that's a problem. That's all I'm saying. So I hate to be bullheaded about it, but every time that I can't give a very specific answer to what this means, I say we have a language problem that we need to address.
So
That's my linguistic perspective.
speaking of problems, I got a problem on page 7.
7.
All the way back, yep.
Exempted activities, back to that $500 threshold.
Yeah.
You can't get a room painted today for $500. So I think we need some language that takes the dollar amount out, because with inflation or whatever, 5 years from now, $500 could be
more meaningless than it is now. You know, and otherwise, I mean, if we leave it in there, we're gonna be, whoever the Board of Adjustment comes out to be is just gonna be, either people are gonna be either violating the law.
Right.
Or they're gonna be coming to us for permits. And I don't know what the permit fee is gonna be, but, and I've seen, frankly, where I used to live in Port Charlotte, they used to have a $250 fee to install a hot water heater. Well, how many people do you think actually paid a fee that's higher than the cost of the hot water heater you're putting in? If you do it yourself. So that's my point. The $500 just seems arbitrary and to the point that the smallest project that you're not doing yourself will require a permit.
But how are you gonna define it?
That's what I'm looking for here. A little help. I mean, it's saying,
well, if-
we're saying right here, routine maintenance of existing buildings, interior improvements or repairs, that do not add any square footage or substantially change the structure of the building.
Or capacity,
Mhm.
Yeah.
or occupancy?
I mean, it is, and I had that same
Yeah,
point.
and
Andy.
that's a good point, Norm. The occupancy does not, in other words, adding bedrooms or whatever.
$500 just seems to be an arbitrary number.
It's just-
It doesn't have any practical application, so I'd agree with
No,
you.
Okay,
other than to make everyone, to have that in there, we might as well just say, okay, everyone needs a permit to do anything.
Right. I mean, in B above it, it's routine maintenance of existing
Exactly.
building. I mean, it almost covers that.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder what the point of interior improvements or repairs to existing
Well,
buildings that
that's
cost
a-
less than
Well,
$500.
there is a
Maintenance
There
is
is a
painting
difference. Yeah.
and a repair like doing a window or whatever. But an interior improvement could be adding petitions.
Yeah.
Adding a
That kind of
bathroom.
thing. Which really I don't think should require a permit other than unless it's it would come under a building permit. Or we could put that, I mean, that any building permit, anyone that applies for a building permit in this flood hazard area needs a permit that's required here.
Yeah.
So,
The dollar value seems like it is out of place.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
And if we can remove that or change the language as Andy
no, it
suggested. I
said,
think
we could say what I heard, I think it was Norman said, interior improvements, repairs to existing building that, do not alter square footage and do not increase the number of bedrooms or do not increase the occupancy.
Gotta think about it, but I understand what you're saying.
I think that maintenance at $500 there is to differentiate between something very simple, like maybe repairing a window.
that could cost you $500.
Well, something that you could call maintenance, it would be under $500.
Well, the maintenance, yeah, is under B, was already taken care of.
Well,
I'm gonna give you an example of something that we're dealing with. It's a real situation right now. We are doing some remodeling of bedrooms. All interior, doesn't change the square footage. It doesn't change the occupancy. It's making it more sound desirable, and it's expanding the opening to a closet space. That's gonna cost us $1,000 or more. So we need a permit because it's over the 500 mark. That doesn't make
that
any sense. I mean, we're not changing anything except the
Yeah.
opening so that we can have easier access to our clothes in the closet. So that's why I asked the question. I mean, this
Okay.
wasn't on my personal agenda previously. It just seemed like it was arbitrary. But that's a real situation. We can't get the new doors for the opening in the space, so we have to redesign the space to buy the doors. The doors themselves will cost $700 and some dollars, plus
Okay,
the carpentry.
all right,
so.
let's move on.
Okay,
Point taken. And
you're back to page 11.
we'll check with Kyle on how strict FEMA's going to be about that. So are we done with 11?
I gotta get back to that. The new
The more I look at 11,
page 11.
designed to automatically equalize hydrostatic flood forces. I couldn't explain that in a week.
The opening has to be sufficient that if water comes in, the amount of water coming in, it can equal the water going out.
And
The
that's why I
pressure
said,
of the water.
Equalization.
It says that here.
but that's why I said that all we need to do is use Bill's example in parentheses. For example, boom.
Yep.
Or
Yeah, somehow it's gotta be cleared up.
right, an opening in a wall needs to be sufficiently big to allow for water flowing in and flowing out. Is that right?
That's what it's talking about. Yeah, it's so the water pressure doesn't destroy the structure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why it says designs will be certified by our engineer. So it's the engineer that's gonna say, yes, it meets these requirements. It's up to the person to know they need to go get some professional services. It's up to the professional.
Right.
To know what they need to meet. And we can explain things down to a lower level, but it's only kind of justifying the reason for it, not really any other purpose, because they're still going to have to go unless they are an engineer, in which case they already understand it.
Right.
And the BOA will never be able to say, oh, yes, that
Right.
equalizes the pressure
Right.
in and out.
Oh, and nor would you want to.
Right.
And no doubt we will be the BOA.
Right. That's why I had a question about that.
It's, no, it can't be like the whole planning commission. It can be planning commission members, but there has to be other people that are a little better versed in this stuff.
All I'm saying is that we need to include an example. That's it, so that people can understand it.
Okay, page 12. Administration. AO. Administrative officer, that would be Bill.
Page one.
Page 12, and there's statutory links for both the AO and the BOA, the Board of Adjustment.
As opposed, the BOA instead of DRB is
Yes,
now BOA.
right. Right, so we need to change that down there.
So it will be in the second line. It will be BOA instead of DRB.
All instances where we see DRB will be replaced by BOA. Is that right?
Yeah, and I want Kyle to double check the citations. Because I did change all those to be BOA related. Yeah, I forget, on C, the application C1, why there was a question about special flood hazard areas.
Again, Barbara.
Aren't those the FEMA designated ones? I think that references those.
Can you reiterate your question so I can get?
There was some question from this group about special flood, the word special. Or actually, now I'm remembering, it just said flood hazard areas, so I added special, which is the FEMA title for these things.
Okay, so you added that.
Yep.
What's it mean? What's the difference between a special flood hazard area and a flood hazard area?
They have a higher risk of flooding or they have a,
They're FEMA mapped.
Yes. Yeah, they're official.
and that's referenced, you can say reference page 20. Where it actually explains that a little bit more. Why are there question marks, Barbara, on the end of that paragraph under Board of Authority? Board of Adjustment, excuse me.
Oh, the citation, just want to double check the citation.
Check the citation. Okay. And you're gonna ask Kyle to do that?
Yeah. Page 13. BOA and citations have been inserted. Down to public notice, section E, number 4. We will not ask the applicant to bear the cost of the public warning. We don't do that here. And I don't think we
Where's
need
that
to
line?
change that one.
4.
E4.
Oh, E4. I'm sorry. I was on 4 above E. Yep. Yeah, we had a question about that.
Some more BOAs and citations. All of the BOA citations are in different places than the Development Review Board ones, so those had to be changed. More BOA down the bottom of 14, throughout 15. Just the insertion of BOA over DRB. In the definitions on page 17, I added Board of Adjustment.
What's the BOA?
In paren,
I'm sorry,
in paren.
in parentheses, yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you say you added it, Barbara?
About a third of the way down on page 17. In alphabetical order.
17. Oh, I see it there. I was on the wrong page. I was on 15 for some reason.
So, the rest of it's just definitions that we probably don't
Yep.
want to change. We could add to them. And so, I could send these questions off to Kyle. Questions we came up with tonight. Get some answers for the next time.
Okay.
Norm, you indicated at one point you'd like to see that the definitions are normally at the head of an ordinance, the beginning of an ordinance.
It is,
Um,
for instance, it is with our subdivision, as I recall, with the subdivision regulations.
It's
And-
one of the, it's like the second or third section.
Yeah, it's way up front. And not all, but many statutes have it right at the beginning too.
I know, this is 5.5 pages of definitions. So I think that's why they put them at the end. Because you don't know where, it's kind of hard to tell where the actual ordinance starts.
But it would be helpful.
It's
if
nothing
there was
to-
some indication that the definitions
We're at the end.
exist.
Yeah. I would recommend the same thing that I was talking about with Andy's, that see page whatever, so we could put definitions in there and say, the definitions found in this document can be referenced on page whatever, or in the appendix.
We can format it like our other ones.
Yeah,
has
like a
table
little
con- has
table of contents.
That's.
Right.
fine.
Just so that people know that the definitions can be found
Yep.
elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when the number of definitions is somewhat limited, it's convenient to have them up front.
It is. It is. Yeah. But when they're 5.5 pages,
Yeah, some people
would
may not
say-
want to spend the time reading 5.5 pages of definitions, particularly if they're engineer and they know what they mean. So-
even with a table of contents, I think it's still too much, too bulky at the beginning. even if you had a table of contents says the definitions are like pages 1 through 5, and then,
They can skip them if they want.
I was suggesting that if you're gonna do it, I mean, you can do a table of contents, or you can put section 2 definitions, see appendix or whatever. And then you know that the definitions can be found at the back if you're, but if you're putting them in the table of contents, that works just as well. If people read the table of contents, but that's.
yeah, it might be easier than trying to find everywhere that these words are used.
The
Roman?
table of contents.
I have a different comment, but not the same.
Yeah, every time accessory dwelling is used, we'd have to go, yeah, we do assert.
I'm sorry, Barbara, I'm not following.
Never mind. Sherman?
I have a table of comment. And throughout there are these acronyms where DEI is
Yeah.
and when it's in the definitions, it's not at the beginning, it's in it may be usually next, it'll say whatever it is, and then DEI. If you put the DEI in of the line,
Uh-huh.
it'd be much easier to find. For instance, if I'm looking for BOA, if you're going to put BOA after Board of Adjustments, I could miss it going through this. But if you put BOA in parens there,
Uh-huh.
followed by Board of Adjustment, it's much easier to follow, much easier to find. And there's it's not just one thing here. There are several of them here.
So, excuse me, Sherman, if we look on page 17, the only one that third one down, it says base floor elevation.
Right.
BFE.
Right.
Are you suggesting that BFE should precede base?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's just one example.
Right, but if you take every acronym, or if you take every abbreviation and put it at the front, followed by the definition, I
Yes.
think it would be easier.
Yeah, I thought it'd be easier to find.
Sherman,
Mm.
my only suggestion is that the point, if you're gonna move the acronym in front of the definition, you have the acronym and then the definition in parentheses and not vice versa, as you suggested. It just, it interrupts the flow a little bit. Yep.
I don't care.
What
I
did
don't
we
care
agree
either.
to? What are we agreeing
Wants
to?
the three letters, the acronym,
Acronym.
and then the definition in parentheses, not the other way around.
The expansion of the, what the acronym means, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the definition per
Well,
se,
it's
but
well,
Well, that's
just,
what you said,
No,
too.
just
You
the-
said put the acronym first, and then, and he's saying put the definition in parentheses.
No,
I'm okay.
Oh,
I didn't-
no?
no, I didn't say that.
Okay, then I missed completely.
A little more
I said,
homework to do.
I
Barry.
said, put the acronym and then put
Not sure where
the
we're going.
words that,
Isn't that what I said?
That's what they
Well,
said.
he
in
he
parentheses.
doesn't consider that the definition. The definition's a whole sentence.
right.
But put the words in
Just-
parentheses following the acronym, right? Is that not what he said?
yes.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Okay, I'm too.
I thought you would be.
Okay, on that note, let's leave this for now. I'll follow up with some stuff.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara.
Oh, sure.
Good job.
Now, yeah, so don't be too disappointed if Kyle comes back and says, I've been through that, been down that road before. FEMA will only accept this and only accept that. But we'll try to get some of these things remedied.
There may
FEMA
be some-
isn't writing this. We're writing this.
FEMA is approving it. This is FEMA money that we're talking about. If there's anything left.
Well, if there's a FEMA left, it may all be a moot point.
Just a final thought. What are we gonna do if FEMA doesn't exist in the near future?
The FEMA can be tough to deal with, but they may not exist anymore, right? Could be.
You thought they were tough to work with before. Jeez. Short staff.
Well,
Or no staff.
Some guidance, as tough as it may be, is better than no guidance.
And the context of that is,
Just that if FEMA doesn't exist, then we're in a bigger problem than if we have a FEMA that exists, that's tough to work with. That's all I'm saying.
$500 or
I
not.
can bring 20 or 30 people in here easily. If I could bring them up here, that would tell you that if FEMA didn't exist, they'd be a lot better off.
Okay, there you go.
And the horrible arbitrary way they just went through and
Yeah.
determine what a value of a house is in a 10-minute thing, and then say, and determine how much it'll cost to repair that house. And if it comes to more than 50%, you can't rebuild. Doesn't matter if you have enough
If the
cash to,
cost to repair or the cost to replace is more than
Right.
50% of the
Yeah.
wall.
even if you have the money.
you're gonna have the money yourself, and you want to do it yourself.
How's that? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's how it works.
Because they're in the special flood hazard area,
Oh, if you're in, I see.
Yeah.
Well, that's the risk that you take. right?
not neighborhoods or streets on the periphery of the flood zone.
No, I'm talking neighborhoods, one right after another, house after house after
Neighborhood
house.
AO.
Yeah, all in the same
all
altitude,
in
but
the-
that's what happened.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I guess
Kind of a kick in the
But-
teeth.
I set that out only because, I mean, we've all heard in the news that the president wants to eliminate or downsize FEMA, so I don't know certainly what we're putting together here is definitely worthwhile. I mean, I think we definitely don't want development in flood zones.
No, right,
That is,
absolutely.
and I
That's
certainly
crazy.
stand behind that.
Yeah, whether, it's not hurricanes, but it's, it's
Right.
It's any
lot of
natural,
flooding
is there
here.
any potential for natural disaster you want to avoid?
Yeah.
You can't avoid
mean-
everything, but
even yesterday was a little scary. I mean, just the hard rain on top of the snow.
oh, yeah.
It wasn't where I live, but
FEMA, my little experience with them, with the fire district we have here, just for, several $1,000 damage. They put you through hell. I mean, it is unbelievable how it goes and goes and goes, and before you can, number one, ever see the check. And it's just, I couldn't believe what we went through. And it's for a little teeny thing. So anybody that's got any serious project, any real problem, I don't know how they deal with it.
yeah, one solution I've heard is that they would replace a lot of that with block grants to the state. And the states would figure out how they would divvy up that.
Yeah, well,
Huge
it's
sum of
still
money
the same
to-
thing. Somebody's got to put some guidelines in place to determine that. I
But
mean,
it'd be
block grants are
more,
great, but-
yeah,
It would be the state doing
it'd be
it.
the state, be
Instead of
more
the feds, right.
localized.
And they may not have enough money to address everybody's problems, so it comes back to the same thing.
Yeah,
That's why it's in everybody's interest to adopt some level of precautionary guidance to prevent things of a disastrous nature from happening if you can.
and to not have to rely on FEMA. Because
Right.
you're
Well-
not in the danger areas.
You don't place your, right. If you don't put yourself in harm's way, then there's less likely, it is less likely that you would have to put in a claim for a catastrophic loss.
Right. Okay, we've got a little more business to do tonight. s-
Just out of curiosity, I mean, I had to absent myself because my wife was in distress. Anyway, so, did we pass the, boundary line adjustment?
Yes, we did.
Mm.
With-
Yes, they still need to make some adjustments on the map,
they have
on the
to
Mylar.
With
Correct
adjustments?
the map, yeah.
Okay, old business down at the bottom. Um, Norm brought this up, that is state statute and what needs to be in the minutes. I don't think we need to talk about this in much depth.
You're talking about
I
the-
raised it. Okay, that's what, can I speak?
No. Yeah,
It's-
go
Are
ahead.
we talking about what we received for the statutes online?
Yes.
Yeah. It's on the third page, right at the top. And what happened is after the last meeting and the discussion about the minutia that I corrected, et cetera, or suggested, and Jerry's comments and Bill's comments, I just decided to take a look and see at the statute to see what the minutes require, what the statute requires of minutes, what we have, and what my nitpicking over the course of several years, whether it fits or not. And frankly, after looking at it, it seems to me that our minutes meet the statutory requirements of A, B, C, and D.
Yep.
And the kinds of things I've been talking about really don't impact these.
Right.
And it also came to mind that in, I don't know, the 6 or 7 years that I've been on the planning commission, nobody has ever raised a question about the minutes. So I think I've been letting the lawyer and former journalist get in the way of progress, and I will try and curtail my comments to really necessary corrections and let the rest go. And I apologize to Jerry and to Bill for taking up time.
I do include more than is necessary, more than the minimum, because I know it helps later for clarification.
But that's okay.
But if I included the minimum, it would make my job a lot easier.
Well, that's,
This discussion would be reviewed, river corridor ordinance, no action was taken.
Right.
That would be the entirety of the topic.
Oh.
Rather than discussing some of the things we're actually talked about, so.
well, all I'm saying is that I'm going to step back from, unless it's really, or maybe even just call you and talk to you before I
Sure.
come with corrections, and then we can iron it out that way. But
That's
I'm going to try and take less time.
Yeah. So yeah, the crux of this is it's a true indication of the business of the meeting.
And it does it. I mean, they do it, and there's never been a dispute.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm just. as I
And
like
now
to
we
say.
have a recording that's available. If anybody reads the minutes, they can check the recording for at least 30 days.
And yeah, and frankly, I mean, it's
They're
one of
uploaded to YouTube, they're there for as long as YouTube's there.
Right.
what. I mean, frankly,
But that's statute.
maybe I've just been slicing the onion too thin and reading it too closely. And
Okay. Okay.
thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Norman.
Any announcements? Okay, let's go to the minutes of February 13.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? It's, anyone's name need to be taken out? No,
I wasn't at the meeting. I didn't.
yeah, okay.
I have a question. I just put as I wrote through it, I checked it off, but ethics training, why did I write that? It's been a couple of days since I read these.
Scheduled to do it.
Yeah.
We were, but,
Tonight,
where does it appear? Right, where does it appear in the minutes? I can't remember. Why did I do that? Oh,
Announcements.
I
it's
think
under
that-
announcements. Select board recently
I
passed. Yep,
think I
that's what
read
it is.
it, yeah.
This requires town officials. After discussion, this will be done as a group after the next meeting.
Mhm.
I thought it
After
was
the,
at our next meeting, no?
I don't think we want it on the record how we're answering the questions. And,
It does not need to be.
Oh, okay, I understand now. When
And
this
it
meeting
also
concludes,
leaves-
we will do it tonight.
it also leaves open the option that you can still do it yourself online.
Right.
Which we can talk about
Okay,
next.
it was just my understanding of, yeah. We could do it tonight after this meeting concludes, is what that means,
Yeah.
or could mean. Yep, got it. Okay.
Okay. Any other comments on the minutes of February 13? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, sure. And is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, we're adjourned.